Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My dad's girlfriend demands I babysit for free. After that, am I the jerk for having high expectations for my bachelorette party? And after that, finally got to tell a jerk customer how I felt about assisting them. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen doesn't get to use an expired coupon. This is 20% off, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My dad's girlfriend demands I babysit for free. I, 19 female, have 8 younger siblings and 1 older sibling, 2 biological sisters who are 21 and 16, 2 half-siblings who are 5 and 3, and 3 step-siblings, 13, 10, and 7, all on my mom's side. My dad and his girlfriend, I'm calling her Franny, have 2 boys who are 1 year old and 2 months old. I don't live at home since I share an apartment with my sister who's 21. We live pretty close to my mom and stepdad's house since they usually need help with the kids and offer payment for us to watch them and help out around the house. My mom, 2 weeks ago, asked me and my sister, who's 21, if we could come babysit from Wednesday evening to Monday afternoon, while her and my stepdad take our 16-year-old sister out of state for a college tour. My mom and stepdad offered to pay us each $100 a day to watch the kids and house. We agreed since we would only be watching our half-siblings and our step-siblings. Everything was going fine until Friday morning. I was putting the kids into the car seats so I could take them to their day camp when my dad and his girlfriend showed up at the house with her 2 kids. Franny jumped out of the car and ran up to me. She kept saying she was so excited she caught me and asked if my car had extra seats so she could put the baby's car seats in. Confused, I asked what she was talking about. Franny told me she heard my sister and I were babysitting and she was going to drop her kids off with me so I could watch them while her and my dad went on a romantic weekend getaway. I told her no, that I was only watching my mom and stepdad's kids and that I didn't have the time or the space for another 2 younger, more high-maintenance kids. Franny began getting upset and screaming that I was selfish and ruining her weekend and that her babies are easy and don't even cry that much. I persisted and continued telling Franny no and saying I'm not obligated to watch her kids. After 20 minutes of her screaming, she finally got in her car and left. All day I've been getting texts and calls from Franny and my dad calling me rude, selfish, and a jerk for not helping her and my dad. I've talked to my mom and stepdad about it, who think I'm in the right and need to ignore Franny and my dad, while my sister, who's 21, and my other sister, who's 16, think I was being harsh and I could have watched the babies for a bit while the other kids were at camp. Am I the jerk? Update. I'm at work right now, so all of this is from my sister who's 21. At around 6 o'clock, Franny dropped off the kids in car seats with bags and rang the doorbell and ran back to the car, then drove off. Thankfully, my sister grabbed the kids and brought them inside. She spent an hour wrangling all of the kids, then realized this was too much and called my dad's parents who live an hour away. Thankfully, they drove over and picked up the babies. When I get home, I'm going to try and call Franny and my dad. My mom and stepdad are super upset and want to come home early. So let me get this straight. Your dad's girlfriend heard you were babysitting 5 kids that someone else was paying you for and thought, "What a perfect opportunity for me to dump my kids on someone else, have a romantic getaway, and not have to pay for babysitting because she's already getting paid by someone else." You are absolutely not the jerk. Your dad and his girlfriend are selfish, thoughtless, and entitled. Not the jerk. Your mom asked you in advance and paid you. Franny just stopped by and thought you'd take them. Mom has respect for you and your time with how she asked you. Franny felt entitled to your time. 2 completely different things. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have watched Franny's babies for her or not? Please let us know. I'd be calling the cops on her is what I'd be doing. Am I the jerk for having high expectations for my bachelorette party? I, 25 female, am getting married to my wonderful fiance, 31 male, this fall. A week ago, I had a bachelorette party. While most girls dream of their weddings, I dreamt about my bachelorette weekend. I put a lot of planning into this weekend, made a lot of phone calls, reservations, everything basically. For Thursday night through Sunday morning, me and 25 of my closest girlfriends rented a house. From the start, it was a disaster. I had told my girls to get to the house early on Thursday so they could decorate and set up before I got there. Well, I got to the house at 3 and they weren't done decorating, so that bummed me out because I wanted that wow moment when I came in and saw the setup. I felt robbed, but we still had a decent first night. Friday, I woke everyone up at 7 a.m. to make breakfast and get ready because we had a packed day. Vineyards, boat, lunch, happy hour drinks, then dinner and the clubs. I was getting complained to all afternoon because people said they were being rushed from place to place and had to carry change of clothes all day. But we only had limited time in this city and I wanted to make the most of it. Saturday was the worst. We had brunch at 9 a.m. and no one was awake in time, so it only ended up being me and a few loyal bridesmaids. We went shopping after for a few hours, and when we got back to the house, no one was even apologetic, even though I was close to tears all day. The last straw for me was later that night when we were going to dinner, and nobody was wearing the matching shirts we got for the weekend. People wanted to wear their own stuff, but that's not what we agreed on, even though my maid of honor notified everyone. At this point, I said forget it. This weekend was ruined and locked myself in my room to cry. It was even worse when I came out a few hours later and half the girls had gone out anyway, without me, aka the actual bride. I ended up driving home early on Sunday and left the house a mess for the girls to pick up because I was so upset. Now it's been almost a week. No one has really texted me except some bridesmaids and the maid of honor. I know I sound bridezilla-ish, but these are supposed to be my friends, and we were supposed to celebrate me all weekend, and I felt neglected, and I'm just really upset. I understand these expectations may seem like a lot, but I made my expectations clear to the group, and they just let me down so bad. Tell me, am I the jerk? Edit, because people are asking me the same questions. 1. Yes, I have 25 people who I genuinely wanted to celebrate with. 6 of them are in my wedding party, and the other 19 were college friends, childhood friends, and work friends, etc. 2. Maid of honor sent out the itinerary months ago. It was very clear the activities I planned and their prices per person. If someone had wanted to skip out, it wouldn't be a problem, but all the girls paid accordingly, so they knew what they were getting themselves into. You're the jerk for all the control and then running off crying. No, you can't control 25 other people. Your expectations were too high. Also, who has 25 friends? This seems like some sorority craziness. Right? Sounds more like OP wanted a lot of people to fawn all over her for several days. You're the jerk. 25 people is not your closest friends. That's a large group of acquaintances, which also includes your closest friends. I guarantee you that not all of them consider you to be their best friend. This means you are dragging people who are trying to politely support an extended member of their friend group into a huge elaborate event where every detail had to be micromanaged for your personal benefit. You even complained that some of them did their own thing while you were pouting and hiding away from everyone, rather than sit patiently at the door for you to once again grace them with your presence. Yes, you do sound like a bridezilla. You're the jerk. Did no one tell you this itinerary was way too much? You made your expectations clear, but did you not think at all about what everyone else wanted? I know it's your weekend, but that doesn't mean you get to cart everyone around like a kindergarten class. You're the jerk. I think it's amazing that 25 people care enough about you to devote so many days to a bachelorette party. Your expectations were too high, your demands too specific, and your attitude too controlling. You could have had an amazing long weekend sharing good times with your friends if you had just relaxed and embraced their needs and interests too. Instead, you've probably changed their perception of you for the worse. If I were you, I would apologize. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or everyone else? Please let us know. Bruh, I feel worn out just hearing this story. Finally got to tell a jerk customer how I felt about assisting them. This happened a few years ago, but it felt oh so satisfying. For a period of time, I worked for a New England-based hardware/home and garden store. We had a customer that was the most impolite individual, definitely thought of retail people as lower than himself, and treated every clerk with contempt. In this story, there's me, there's the jerk customer, and the store manager. Well, my course had changed and I moved on from said job and was working as a carpenter and was in that location to buy something for a project I was working on. The uniform at the store was a dark green polo and a dark green fleece as a cover-up. I'm a woodsy guy. Almost all of my clothes are brown, tan, duck, black, or green. And this day, I happened to be wearing dark brown pants with a dark green sweatshirt from a local building supply company, dark green with white labeling of said company. Pretty easy to see it wasn't a store-issued garment with any real observation. I'm in the hardware aisle, where there are also lubricants for loosening bolts and whatnot, which I was looking at. This guy walks into the aisle, and I made no notice besides that someone else had entered the space. Jerk customer clears throat. Me in my head. This guy sounds horrible. Jerk customer clears his throat again. Excuse me? Me. Sorry, thinking that I'm blocking the shelves and he needs something off of it. Jerk customer. No, you're supposed to help me. Me. No, I'm not. I no longer work for this company. That's BS. I see you in here regularly. You were even wearing a uniform. Me. This is a insert building company. Sweatshirt, pointing out the label on me. I haven't worked here for almost a year, and the reason I'm in here regularly is because, like you, it's the closest hardware store to my house. Jerk customer. Well, you're going to help me anyway, because you know this stuff about what I need. Me. Nope, in no way is that happening. I didn't get paid enough when I did work here to put up with your bad attitude, and now that I'm not making any money for this interaction, I'm definitely not putting up with it. I'm going to tell the store manager about this. Me. And she's going to do what exactly? Hold your hand and tell you it'll be okay? She doesn't hold sway over me or my actions in this moment, so good luck with that. Jerk customer. I can't believe how rude you are. Me. That's rich. Are you really that self-unaware? Have you ever not actually thought about why, when I did work here, I was the only one who would help you? I'll clue you in. It was because no one else wanted to, and I wanted to keep them from your condescension and entitled attitude. Now about this time, store manager had come around to find me as we have a good relationship and wanted to catch up. She heard a decent amount of what was said on the way over. As she walks into the aisle, jerk customer turns to her and says, "Your so-called former employee is verbally attacking me and saying that no one ever wants to help me because I'm a jerk." Well, store manager doesn't have much of a filter and responds with, "Well, he is a former employee and hasn't worked here for nearly a year. And frankly, he's not wrong." The look on his face was priceless, and he just harumphed and told her he would take his business elsewhere, which only got a simple, "You do that," from her. We had a good laugh, and the vindication from her, coupled with the opportunity to say what I did, was fantastic. Am I the jerk for dropping my sibling off at my mom's date? For my whole life, I, 20, have always been the live-in babysitter for my mom. I thought that once I moved out, I would no longer have to babysit my siblings, who are 6, 8, and 10 anymore. But boy, was I wrong. As soon as I turned 18, I got married and moved out. I know you are all going to judge me for that, but I'm happy with my husband. My husband doesn't mind me having my younger siblings over as he loves the kids, but it's gotten absolutely ridiculous. My mom doesn't even ask me before she drops off my siblings. She will literally just drop my siblings off at my door and leave. She's even done this on our date nights. It's unfair to me and my husband, even though my husband has been accepting this with grace and is really good with my siblings. I'm actually pregnant myself, and I've been feeling the typical pregnancy symptoms, so my husband has been picking up more of the load of watching them when they're here. I've told my mom many times to stop doing this, as my husband and I have a life of our own and don't want to be watching your kids all the time, and to at least let us know before dropping them off. Recently, my mom did this again, and I wasn't having it. I called my mom after she dropped my siblings off and found out where she went, which was on a date at a restaurant, and went there with my siblings. I found where my mom was seated, went up to her with my siblings following me, and said, "Hey mom, I have a few errands to run, so I decided to drop them off with you," and left while my mom was in the middle of objecting. My mom was upset and ringed my phone down. I didn't answer until the next day. When I did, I got an earful with her telling me that she raised me and went through months of pregnancy. The least I can do is watch my siblings when she needs time off. I told her that she didn't ask me to watch them and that I cannot accept her dropping them off at my place without even asking me if I'm available to watch them. She said that we are family and that I'm supposed to look after them because I'm their older sister, and that I embarrassed her in front of a guy she really liked. My husband does feel bad about what I did and feels like there was a better way to deal with my mom than how I did. Do you all think I was in the wrong here? Not the jerk. Tell her the next time she drops them off without asking you, you'll call the cops on her. Also, you don't owe her for giving birth to you. She chose to have you. OMG, just no. 100% not the jerk. I've always hated scenarios where parents use an older kid as a third, or in this case, second, parent. She chose to have those kids, not you, and to expect you to parent when she doesn't want to is absolutely ridiculous. You have every right to feel the way you do and are under no obligation to help her. OP. I'm basically their second mom. They sometimes even call me mom and will cry when my mom picks them up. I love my siblings, but I really just want to be able to do my own thing sometimes. Not the jerk. Your mom has conditioned them to cling to you. Blame her. Quit answering your phone and your door no matter what. Yes, you are their sister, always will be. But that doesn't mean you aren't also your own person, a wife, and you have a life. Time to create some distance between you and your mom. She gave birth to them, not you. I'm so sick of parents acting like their grown kids owe them for giving birth to them and raising them. You did not ask to be born, and being fed, clothed, protected, and hopefully loved are basic requirements for parents that they sign up for the moment they decide to be parents. You do not owe your mother a darn thing. She decided to have these kids. This is on her, not the jerk. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for a dress that my bridesmaid ripped in the store? I, 25 female, am getting married. My future husband, John, has no siblings, one aunt, and only one first cousin, Casey, who's 23 female. So John asked me to include her in the wedding. I told all 3 bridesmaids that I'd pay for their dresses. At the appointment, the girls picked a few dresses from the display models up front. The sales associate explained that she would go to the back and pull the ready-to-try dresses, and that going up 1 to 2 sizes is normal for formal wear. The plan was for them to head into the changing area, and when they all had a dress on, they'd come out as a group to show me. John's mother and aunt, Casey's mother, pulled me to look at the bridal accessories, so this part is secondhand from my bridesmaids. The associate brought dresses into the dressing area, and Casey was irritated that she fell into the plus line, which started at 18, both on principle and because 2 of the dresses apparently weren't available in plus size to try on. She argued and refused to try on anything above a 14, but the associate warned her not to go below a 16. Casey has always squeezed herself into tight-fitting clothes and is very focused on, in her words, unfair and misleading sizing between brands, refusing to see that in reality she's about a size 18 or 20, so 22 to 24 in formal wear. While I was on the other side of the store, I saw Casey quickly walk out and grab a dress off of a mannequin, but I didn't think too much of it. However, the sales associate pulled me aside and told me that a $250 charge for a dress that ripped would be added to my bill since I was taking care of everything. When I went to talk to Casey, I found her struggling to zip a too small dress, and the size 14 dress, the one she grabbed, was hanging up and had burst open at the side. I told Casey politely but firmly that I wasn't going to pay for the damaged dress and that she would need to cover the cost herself, to which she insisted that it was my job to do it. We went back and forth, unproductively, as John's mother and aunt came back over, and one of the other bridesmaids told me that the sales associate had strongly cautioned against trying smaller dresses. Casey attempted to start another argument about sizing, and I cut her off. I told her that there's no way she's a size 14, and I don't care if she believes it out in the real world, but for the purpose of this trip and my wedding, I needed her to accept that. Casey angrily went back into her dressing room and refused to come out, and her mother told me to just pay the $250 since Casey was still an apprentice at the hair salon and didn't make that much money. My bridesmaids backed me up, but Casey's aunt, and to a certain extent John's mother, essentially said that Casey wouldn't be there around those dresses in the first place if it wasn't for me. Casey's mom ultimately paid for the damaged dress, but am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You offered to pay for their dresses, not what they damaged. Her irresponsibility is not your responsibility. I'd kick her out as a bridesmaid at this point too. She sounds like she's going to cause more trouble before the wedding is done. Yes, she's already demonstrated that she lacks common sense. She needs to be responsible for her own actions and also be realistic. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. And what is this logic of, if you hadn't had Casey around these dresses, she never would have tried to squeeze into one that was 4 to 5 sizes too small? OP. It was essentially like, we know you have money, and these girls are here doing what you want for your special day. Plus, you already offered to pay, so why aren't you paying? You were the one who picked out this store and told them to try on these dresses. Not the jerk, but Casey is. We all know these dresses are expensive. Put the word wedding to it, and the price doubles in a heartbeat, and Casey was warned. Time to have a serious, calm discussion with your groom. She shouldn't be your bridesmaid anymore. Well, what do you think? Should OP pay for the damaged dress or not? Please let us know.
Absolutely not. Just because Casey's an idiot doesn't mean you should have to pay for her stupidity.
Don't return a broken controller? Fine, I'll play you at your own game. So in the UK, we have a store called Game. I'll spare explaining what they sell. So anyway, I was looking through the secondhand cabinet and found an Xbox Elite controller. I liked the look of it. I ended up buying it and took it home. About an hour's drive away because I live in the middle of nowhere. Plugged it in, excited to make use of the extra features on my new controller, only to find the A button was mushed in and wouldn't register any input. Clearly broken, as soon as you tried to press it, it didn't click. Annoyed that nobody had checked this before putting it on sale, I traveled back the next day to return it for a working controller. I handed over the controller in the case it came with and explained the situation. Cashier: have you got the charging cable? This is where I messed up. I left the micro USB cable plugged into my PC. Me: no, very sorry, left it at home, but you can clearly tell this button is not clicking and it's broken. Cashier struggled to hide his grin and proceeded to tell me there was no way of testing the controller to see if it was faulty without the cable. Me: surely there's a micro USB cable lying around you can use. Cashier: I still can't return it without the cable. This I get, but I'm asking for a simple swap, like for like. Don't need the accessories, just the controller. He was getting a mad control ego trip over condescendingly explaining the technicalities of store policy. Annoyed with the fact it was going to be another 2-hour round trip, I just left, passing that same secondhand cabinet on my way out. That's when the light bulb moment hit. I looked at the Elite controller they had put in the cabinet to replace the one I bought the previous day, and looked back at old Smuggins back at the checkout, who was just elated he had won, or so he thought. I walked confidently back to the checkout, waited in line, and got to the smirking cashier, who now had a confused, slightly worried look on his face. Me: I'd like to buy one Xbox Elite controller from your secondhand cabinet, please, I said in my most polite voice, as if it was the first time meeting cashier. Looking very confused and puzzled, he went and fetched it for me. I paid for my controller, cable and all, and marched out of the store. A little cable swap later, and I walked immediately back into the store. This is where cashier and I locked eye contact from across the store. His face was even more puzzled than before. I got to the front of the line and was served by the manager as cashier was busy with another customer. Me: I bought this controller off you yesterday, and as you can see, the A button is smashed in and broken. This is where the penny dropped for cashier, and he figured out what I was up to. After handling the controller, the manager confirmed that, yes, it is. Very sorry about that, sir. We'll get that refunded for you, no problem. Do you have all the accessories it came with? Me, locking eyes with cashier at the adjacent checkout, who was clearly listening and trying to involve himself in the transaction. As a matter of fact, I do. Charging cable and all. At this point, cashier was spitting feathers trying to interject and exclaim I had just swapped out the cable 30 seconds prior, but was too busy with the customer who was asking questions about something. Manager: do you want the money going back onto the card or paid initially? Me: yes, please, but don't you need to check to see if it's faulty by plugging it in first? Still holding eye contact with cashier. Manager: no, that's not necessary. The A button is clearly broken. As cashier got redder in the face, my grin widened until I looked like a Cheshire cat. I thanked the manager for his help and gave a nod to cashier and left with my head held high and my new working controller. To some, this isn't anything to write home about, but for me it was extremely satisfying to see cashier's face at the end of the ordeal. Landlord tried to exploit me for free labor. I'm renting a little house out past the suburbs of the city I'm currently working in. It's a little old and the appliances are a bit dated, but it was much cheaper than a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, and I move around every couple of years for work. My landlord lives out of state and doesn't have anyone local, so for the past year and a half I haven't talked to anyone. Just pay my rent on time and keep doing my thing. About 4 months ago, plumbing issues started popping up, and 2 major appliances decided to give up the ghost. I notified my landlord via email and written letter. I rent a lot and have learned to abide by the exact wording in a lease. After several follow-up emails and phone calls, a local handyman showed up to look at everything and provide a quote. After receiving the quote for parts plus labor, the landlord told me flat out that they will not be paying for the repairs. They said that since I'm an engineer, they would allow me to purchase parts, install them, and then deduct the cost of the repairs from my rent payment. They said it was either this or learn to make do. I was not super thrilled at this response. I replied back to them saying if they were willing to deduct my time and the cost of parts from my rent, that I would get started immediately. Thank you very much. They were thrilled to hear it and asked me to send receipts for their records when everything is finished. Great. Now to put together all the pieces and get to work. The first step was to file for an LLC with my current state. Next, I set up some cameras and borrowed a GoPro from one of my hiking mates. I was able to document all the repair processes, from me watching YouTube videos of how to do things to me making multiple runs to the parts store and get that piece I didn't know I needed. Here's the kicker. At my day job, I make over $50 an hour. That is what my time is valued at. The final bill for everything has worked out to be about 12% higher than the quoted cost, and the landlord is very upset. But my lawyer added to the email chain has kept them very civil. I don't care that you're a diamond member. We've all gotten the calls from the top-tier ultra shiny rewards members where they're demanding some sort of free thing. We've all had them in our faces. However, since I got a fancy new title and a fun new name plaque for the manager on duty sign, I've been unable to care about them. A little backstory is that I'm the highest manager on property, as my GM had a medical issue and will be out on temporary disability until September. I've been running the hotel since March with very little training on admin stuff, working the front desk, helping housekeeping, and even working with maintenance. We occasionally, like once a month, have a task force GM come in to help, but he doesn't know our PMS. With all that said, I have very little time or patience for the entitled rantings of idiots. I just got a call about a reservation for early August. The first thing this jerk says to me is, "I'm a diamond member." He then goes on to ask me if we have discounted tickets to local theme parks. I say no and explain that those kinds of tickets are usually given to the hotels that are literally right beside said theme park. He starts yelling, "If you have the tickets, you have to give them to me. You can't hold them." I politely tell him again that we don't have any and haven't had them in the 4 years I've been here. He calms down and then asks the question I hate more than anything. "Do you have any free upgrades for diamond members? Like, if I wanted to check in at 8 to go to the theme park, would it be for free?" I tell him, "No, sir. Early check-in is subject to availability, and generally before noon, it's a $50 fee. Since you're a diamond member, I would let you check in at 10 a.m. for free." This set him off. He begins screaming into the phone that, "This is BS, and no other hotel has ever made me pay for an early check-in. I'm going to report you to corporate, and since I'm a diamond member, you're going to lose your job." When he stops to take a breath, I say, "I don't care that you're a diamond member," and hang up. I can't stand these entitled jerks anymore. I'm not taking their mistreatment and not letting my staff take it either. I heard someone yelling at my front desk and came out of my office and told her to go chill in the back for a second. I threatened to kick him out if he talked to my staff like that anymore. Where did my patience go? My favorite response to diamond members when they threatened to get corporate to fire me was, "Well, sir, this is a franchised hotel, not a corporate-owned hotel. Corporate has no input on my employment status here, and even if they ask my boss, our owners won't agree to fire me. Did you need me to give you corporate's number, or do you have it already?" My response is usually, "Okay," which seems to make them even more mad. Younger me would have been in the back shaking and trying not to cry because I was not aware of the power balance. Older me understands these customers have no say in my employment if I'm doing my job. And that's always when I have my job threatened by them because I'm following policy and not breaking it for them. So please, do call and let them know that I'm doing my job. When I became a manager, I loved getting these complaints. I would print out the corporate complaints and congratulate the employee for sticking to policy. And my favorite was the one time someone came to complain in person about the employee not breaking policy. The look on her face when I said, somewhere along the lines of, "Thank you for bringing to my attention that my employees are enforcing the company policy. It's good to know they are following their training." I got my stepsister Karen kicked out of school. I'm 15, female, and my stepsister is 17. We attend the same private high school. I'm in my second year. I skipped a grade, and she is in her first year. She's been held back for 2. Our school is very demanding. Last year, she was almost expelled for her low performance. She even had a meeting with the principal and teachers to decide if she would stay. I was chosen by our parents to vouch for her, but I refused to because I have a good reputation and I didn't want to lie to my teachers. She did face consequences for her low performance, but was given a second chance. This year, she was acting the exact same as last year, all the time just on her phone and not even focusing in class. But last month, to everyone's surprise, she got an almost perfect grade on a paper. We were all happy for her, and stepmom even printed out her paper and put it on the fridge. I was a bit surprised by the topic she chose because it was the same topic I chose last year. I was curious and decided to read her paper during breakfast. It gave me an odd feeling when I was reading it. I get this weird feeling when I read something that I've already read before. But I had a lot on my plate already, and I just let it go. That same week, she got another good grade, but this time it was different. This story was about one of my personal favorite memories, and this time I recognized it immediately, so I confronted her right away. At first, she denied it, but I brought my notebook and showed her the exact same text. She admitted to it, but stepmom defended her, trying to say that I was lying. She got those grades because she had a problem with her notebook and I had lent her mine. Even my father was against me. They didn't punish her and I was forbidden to report her. I was mad and I stopped speaking to them. A week later, I needed to use the sharing tool in my computer and realized she was using that to steal my work. At first, I just turned it off, but then I decided to make her get caught. I took the next 5 tasks that were her next ones and edited them. I took off citations, put a few insults here and there, put pure plagiarism, and turned sharing on again. Well, she got caught, and our parents and her had to attend an emergency meeting. She ended up confessing and lied, telling them that I gave her my old work. I told them the truth, and they trusted me because I have a good reputation. She was expelled in the act. She's blaming me for everything. Our parents are furious with me, especially because it will be hard to find a new school for her now, and her record of failing 2 years plus an expulsion will do no good for her. I was fine with my conscience, but my favorite aunt told me I was wrong and I should have just denied her access to my work, and it wasn't right to do this to family. So, people of the internet, am I the jerk?
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.